So, me and my girl, we thought we'd do this cute little getaway, you know? Found this cabin in the Smoky Mountains on Airbnb. Secluded, surrounded by trees. Perfect for a break from reality, or so we thought. We pull up, and it's cozy, quaint. A bit too secluded, maybe. But hey, that's the appeal, right? The host is all smiles, handing us the keys, saying something about enjoying the peace and quiet. Yeah, sure. First night goes okay. We're cooking, watching some TV, doing the whole cabin thing. But then, curiosity kicks in. We notice this weird-looking panel in the corner of the living room. It's like the wall's hiding something. We mess around with it, find a latch, and boom, the wall swings open. Behind it, a hidden room. It's small, cramped, and smells funky. Not like a regular room, you know? Like, the air's heavier, weirder. There are newspaper clippings all over the walls. Headlines about missing people, unsolved cases. It's like something out of a crime drama. But what gets to us are the pictures, Polaroids scattered on a makeshift table. Pictures of people, unsuspecting, doing regular stuff. Walking their dog, grabbing groceries. It's creepy, like someone was stalking them. And then, the realization hits, we're looking at the previous occupants of this cabin. The ones before us. Suddenly, it's not a cute getaway anymore. It's a freaking crime scene vibe. We're flipping through these pictures, half expecting someone to jump out at us. But it's worse. There's one of us. Yeah, a Polaroid of us arriving, carrying bags, happy. Now, panic sets in. We're thinking, are we being watched? Is someone spying on us right now? The room's got this dark energy, like we've uncovered a secret we were never meant to find. We rush to the host's profile on Airbnb, check his reviews, and bam, there are hints. People saying weird things, subtle warnings. Like, lovely cabin, but if walls could talk. What does that even mean? We lock every door, check every window. But it's like the walls are closing in. Every creak, every shadow, it's alive with unseen eyes. We decide to bail, pack our stuff faster than we've ever packed before. As we drive away, the cabin disappears in the rearview mirror. But the feeling lingers, like we've been marked, watched. We never reported it. What if the host was in on it? What if the hidden room wasn't a secret from him? So, there I was, this solo traveler, right? Found this historic brownstone in Brooklyn on some travel app. Seemed like a decent place, old charm, you know? Little did I know what I was getting into. First night, things are okay. Creaky floors, weird drafts, standard old building stuff. But then, things take a turn. I start getting these messages on the ancient landline phone in the corner of the room. Messages from someone who knows too much. It's like they're watching my every move. The messages are cryptic, like they're hinting at something dark. Something tied to the building's past. I'm thinking, who the heck has my number in this place? Next day, I decide to explore the neighborhood, clear my head. It's Brooklyn, you know, hipsters, coffee shops, the whole deal. But everywhere I go, it feels like eyes are on me. Like people know something I don't. I head back to the brownstone, and the messages keep coming. They're more specific now, detailing stuff only someone inside the building would know. I start thinking about the history of this place. Did something messed up go down here? Turns out, yeah, it did. Did some digging, newspaper archives, local stories. Found out this brownstone had a dark past. A murder, like a century ago. And the victim? They lived in the very room I'm staying in. Now, I'm freaking out. Every creak, every shadow, it's like the past is alive, reaching out to me. I decide to confront this mystery caller. Pick up the phone, demand answers. But all I get is this eerie silence, like the building itself is holding its breath. Days go by, and the messages escalate. They start describing my dreams, my thoughts. It's like someone's invaded my mind. I'm not alone. The walls are closing in, and the brownstone holds its secrets tight. I get desperate, try to leave, but the doors won't open. It's like the building's keeping me in. The messages turn sinister, threatening harm if I don't uncover the truth. But what truth? I'm just a traveler caught in some twisted game. Night falls, and the room feels colder. The walls seem to whisper, telling tales of long-forgotten horrors. I find old pictures, hidden in a dusty drawer, faces of people from the past, their eyes staring into my soul. The final message comes, a chilling revelation about the murderer's identity. It's someone still in the building. Someone who never left, even in death. I'm terrified, cornered by the building's dark history, a puppet in its morbid show. Then, as suddenly as it all began, the messages stop. Silence engulfs the room. I gather my stuff, sprint down the stairs, and burst out into the Brooklyn night. The brownstone looms behind me, its secrets buried once again. I never look back. The mystery caller, the haunted room, it's all behind me now. I thought a solo escape to this tiny home in the Pacific Northwest would be the perfect break, you know? Cute little cabin, surrounded by woods, sounded like bliss. But, turns out, bliss ain't what I got. First day, everything's cool. Settle in, unpack my stuff. The woods around are quiet, almost too quiet. But, hey, I wanted peace and quiet, right? So, I start exploring, wandering through the trees, breathing in the fresh air. But as I go deeper, it gets weird. Footsteps, like someone's following me. I turn around, nothing there. I shake it off, tell myself it's just my imagination playing tricks. But the feeling doesn't go away. Night falls, and I'm in the tiny home. Little creaks here and there, normal cabin stuff. Then I hear whispers, distant voices. I go out, thinking maybe neighbors. But no neighbors around for miles. Just me and the trees. Next day, the stalking starts. I see glimpses between the branches, shadows moving. Every time I turn, nothing. It's like the woods are playing tricks on me. The silence gets heavier, like it's pressing down on me. I decide to confront it. Shout out into the trees, "Who's there?" No response. Just this eerie silence, like the woods are holding their breath. I go back to the tiny home, lock all the doors, but I can't shake off the feeling of being watched. Days pass, and it gets worse. I find footprints outside, not mine. Someone's been here. Panic sets in. Am I sharing this tiny home with an unwelcome guest? I search every nook and cranny, find nothing. But the whispers continue, muffled voices, like secrets carried by the wind. I consider leaving, but the isolation of the woods makes it tough. The feeling of being watched turns into a certainty. I see him, just for a second, a figure between the trees. He's there, then he's not. Always just out of reach. I lock myself in the tiny home at night, but the windows rattle. It's like someone's testing the doors, probing for a way in. I hear him whispering, his voice low and menacing. It's like he's playing mind games, driving me to the edge. One night, I see him clearly, a silhouette at the window. I freeze, can't move. His eyes lock onto mine, and that's when I know he's not just some random person. He knows me, or he thinks he does. The next day, I find an old journal in the tiny home. It's mine, but not the me standing here. It's from years ago. Personal stuff, my fears, my dreams. It's like he knows me better than I know myself. I'm horrified, violated. I decide I can't stay. Pack my things, run through the woods. He's behind me, always a step away. The whispers turn to taunts, echoing through the trees. I reach the edge of the woods, see my car. But he's there, blocking the way. I freeze, heart pounding. He steps forward, and that's when I recognize him. Someone from my past, someone I never wanted to see again. He's twisted, broken, and he blames me for everything. His obsession with me turned into something dark and dangerous. I break free, sprint to my car, speed away from that nightmare. But I know it's not over. He's out there, in those woods. A part of me still trapped in that tiny home, haunted by the sinister presence he brought with him. So, we rented this beach house in Malibu for a weekend getaway. Sun, sand, good times, right? Little did we know, the place came with more than just a killer view. First day, we roll in, excited. The beach house is perfect, big windows, cozy vibe. We're all about making memories, you know? But then, in the middle of the night, someone knocks on the door. No one's expecting visitors. I open it, nothing there. Weird, but maybe a neighbor playing pranks. Next day, we hit the beach, soak up the sun. It's all laughs until we notice something off, strange markings on the walls inside the house. Like someone left a message in a language we can't decipher. We figure maybe the previous guests were into some weird art thing. As the sun sets, we decide to have a chill night, order pizza, maybe watch a movie. But then, we find this old journal hidden in the closet. Scribbles, drawings, all kinda creepy. It's like the person before us was losing their mind. We laugh it off, blaming it on overactive imaginations. Later that night, we hear whispers. Not the wind or the ocean, actual whispers. We follow the sound, and it leads us to a locked door. We didn't even know there was a locked door in the house. Suddenly, we're detectives in our own freaky mystery. We search the house for clues, find a key hidden under a floorboard. Heart pounding, we unlock the mysterious door. It swings open, revealing a hidden room. Dark, dusty, like it hasn't seen daylight in years. The air in there, heavy, suffocating. In the room, we discover a series of unsettling clues, newspaper clippings, photographs, all connected to some unsolved murders. It hits us, the person before us wasn't just eccentric, they were obsessed with a dark secret. We piece together the puzzle, realizing the beach house was a hideout for a fugitive, a criminal on the run. Those knocks on the door, the strange markings, all breadcrumbs leading us to this horrifying revelation. Suddenly, our weekend escape turns into a nightmare. We're on edge, convinced every creak and whisper is a sign of imminent danger. The beach, once a source of relaxation, feels like a prison. We can't escape the chilling reality that someone dangerous might come looking for the secrets hidden in this house. As we dig deeper, We find out that the criminal who stayed here was never caught. The murders they committed are still unsolved. Panic sets in. Are we in danger? Is the fugitive watching us from the shadows? Night falls, and paranoia takes over. Every sound makes us jump. We lock ourselves in our rooms, imagining shadows moving in the dark corners. The beach house, once a haven, transforms into a claustrophobic maze, echoing with the unsettling whispers of the past. By morning, we've had enough. We pack our bags, leave the beach house, and the secrets it held behind. We thought a family vacation in the Everglades, staying in a rustic treehouse, would be a dream. You know, a chance to bond, get away from the city hustle. But things took a turn I still can't wrap my head around. First day, we arrive, kids excited. The treehouse is charming, surrounded by swampy beauty. They start playing around, exploring the surroundings. Everything's peachy until the kids start saying they see figures in the swamp. Just kids being kids, I thought, imagination running wild. Night falls, and that's when things get weird. I'm lying in bed, half asleep, when I hear whispers. Like someone talking right outside. I go check, nothing. Probably just the swamp sounds playing tricks. But the kids, they're spooked. Insist they've seen people in the dark, watching. Next day, more oddities. Stuff goes missing, reappearing in strange places. The kids swear it's the swamp figures messing with us. I figure they're trying to scare each other, typical sibling stuff. Brush it off, tell them to quit fooling around. The swamp becomes an eerie backdrop, and the tension in the treehouse thickens. I notice shadows moving outside, but every time I investigate, it's just the swamp playing tricks on my tired mind. The kids stick to their story, swamp figures, watching, waiting. One night, I wake to the sound of footsteps on the wooden planks outside. Creeping, slow. Heart pounding, I grab a flashlight, rush outside. Nothing. Just the oppressive darkness and the kids' wide-eyed stares. Maybe it's animals, I tell them, but deep down, doubt gnaws at me. Days pass, and the treehouse becomes a pressure cooker of fear. I catch glimpses of silhouettes in the swamp, fleeting, like shadows in the moonlight. The kids draw what they've seen, tall figures, obscured faces. It's unsettling, but I chalk it up to overactive imaginations. Then, things take a dark turn. We wake up to the treehouse surrounded by eerie symbols etched into the wooden walls. Panic sets in. The kids are terrified, and so am I. I can't explain it away, no logical reason for those symbols appearing overnight. The once charming treehouse becomes a fortress of paranoia. Every sound, every rustle in the swamp sends shivers down our spines. We're prisoners in our temporary haven, tormented by unseen forces. The kids, once carefree, now huddle together, wide-eyed and scared. One night, I muster the courage to confront whatever's out there. Armed with a flashlight, I step into the swamp. The darkness swallows me, and the noises intensify. My heart races as I search for an explanation. But there's nothing, just the oppressive humidity and the ominous stillness. Back in the treehouse, things take a sinister turn. Shadows move within, whispers become audible. The kids are terrified, and I can't deny the reality that something isn't right. We decide to cut our vacation short, leave the treehouse behind with its secrets and shadows. As we drive away, the swamp retreats into the rearview mirror. The kids, though still scared, slowly ease up. We never talk about those nights in the treehouse. We decide to rent this fancy houseboat on Lake Tahoe for a relaxing getaway. Seemed like the perfect escape, you know? Just us, the shimmering lake, and peace. But nothing ever goes as planned. First day on the boat, everything's chill. Sun shining, breeze in our hair, sipping on drinks. We notice another boat cruising nearby, no big deal. Friendly waves exchanged. We think it's just folks enjoying the lake like us. As the day goes on, that boat starts getting a bit too close. Like, uncomfortably close. We brush it off. Maybe they're just bad at steering. But then, they match our speed, mirroring our every move. Weird, right? Night falls, and we dock for some shut-eye. I wake up to the sound of another boat engine. Look out, and there they are, parked way too close. Freaked us out, but maybe they're lost or something. Give them a friendly wave, hoping they get the hint. Next day, we hit the lake again. Guess who's back? Yep, our new shadow. This time, they're not playing nice. Speeding up, closing in, and it hits us. They're following us. Panic sets in. We're just here for a good time, not some creepy cat and mouse game. We try to shake them off, make random turns, but they're persistent. Boat speeds up every time we do. What started as a relaxing getaway is turning into a bizarre thriller. We're not equipped for this, just a couple on a houseboat trying to escape an unnerving situation. Desperation sinks in. We're miles from shore, and this boat won't let up. We radio for help, but it's Lake Tahoe, fast and unforgiving. No one's coming to save us anytime soon. Adrenaline pumps through us as we navigate the boat, glancing over our shoulders to see if they're still there. Hours pass, and they're relentless. It's not fun anymore. It's downright terrifying. We start fearing for our safety. What do they want? Why are they chasing us? Panic turns into anger, frustration. We're trapped in this aquatic nightmare with no way out. As the sun sets, we contemplate making a run for the shore, abandoning the boat to escape whatever's happening. But they anticipate our moves, always blocking our path. It's like they know every move before we make it. Creepy as hell. Night falls again, and we're stuck in this never-ending pursuit. Exhausted, scared, we're running on fumes, physically and emotionally. The boat's engine drones on, a constant reminder of our helplessness. Sleep deprived, paranoid, we've become prisoners on this floating nightmare. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, we spot a marina in the distance. Hope surges within us. Maybe we can lose them in the maze of docks and boats. We push the houseboat to its limits, navigating through the marina's twists and turns. In a stroke of luck, we manage to lose our relentless pursuers. The marina becomes a refuge, a sanctuary from the madness. We dock, hearts pounding, and watch as the mystery boat fades into the darkness. We never found out who they were or why they chased us. Maybe some twisted game, a sick joke at our expense. All we know is that Lake Tahoe, once a serene escape, transformed into a realm of fear and paranoia that still haunts our memories. For some context, I'm a 32-year-old female artist. I had an idea to rent this little loft in Paris, you know, to get some artistic inspiration. Figured the City of Lights would be perfect for my creativity. The place seemed charming, all rustic and full of character. First day, everything's normal. Set up my easel, got the paints out, ready to create a masterpiece. But as I'm poking around, I noticed this weird floorboard in the corner. Lift it up, and there's a hidden room underneath. Odd, right? Curiosity gets the better of me, and I venture in. It's dark, dusty, and smells like ancient secrets. I find this old chest, covered in cobwebs, and pop it open. Inside, there's this collection of disturbing artwork, twisted faces, tortured figures. Like something out of a horror movie. Can't make sense of it. Who leaves creepy art in a hidden room? Doesn't feel right, but my artistic side kicks in, and I start wondering about the stories behind those paintings. I mean, every piece of art has a story, right? Nights roll in, and I keep returning to that hidden room. It's like an obsession, this bizarre art and the secrets it holds. But it's not just about the paintings. The loft starts changing. Weird shadows dance across the walls, and I swear I hear whispers when it's silent. Sleep becomes a distant memory. Every night, the loft feels colder, emptier. My artwork takes a dark turn, mirroring the twisted pieces I found. I'm not even sure if I'm the one creating anymore. It's like the room is seeping into my soul, intertwining my creativity with its eerie history. The line between reality and imagination blurs. I'm not alone in that loft. There's a presence, something lingering in the corners, watching me. The air becomes heavy, suffocating, and my brushes move as if guided by unseen hands. I find myself painting scenes from that hidden room, reliving the horrors on canvas. It's like I'm a vessel for the darkness within those walls. My art turns into a disturbing reflection of the past, or maybe the present. I can't escape it. The loft becomes a prison of nightmares. Shadows flicker in the corners of my vision, and strange noises echo through the space. Every creak, every whisper, sends shivers down my spine. It's like the room is alive, feeding off my fear and fueling my obsession. Days turn into a twisted routine. Paint, uncover more secrets, paint again. It's a cycle of madness, and I'm trapped in this artistic nightmare. The more I try to distance myself, the deeper I sink into that hidden room's grasp. The once charming loft transforms into a chamber of horrors. My art, once a source of joy, becomes a haunting reflection of the hidden room's malevolence. I can't escape it, can't break free from the dark history etched into the loft's walls. I'm losing myself in the process. The lines between artist and subject blur. Am I painting the darkness, or is the darkness painting me? The hidden room, with its disturbing artwork, becomes the puppeteer, pulling the strings of my creativity. Eventually, I can't take it anymore. The weight of that room, the twisted art, the oppressive atmosphere, it's all too much. I pack my things, leave the loft behind, hoping to escape the grip of that hidden room. Me and my buddies decided to rent this A-frame cabin in the Rockies. Thought it'd be a chill weekend, you know? Just some friends, good times, maybe a bit of skiing if the weather cooperated. But things took a turn, man, a dark turn. We got there, and the cabin was pretty cool, rustic vibes, surrounded by snow-covered trees. We were stoked. Nights by the fireplace, beers, the whole deal. But then the storm hit. Snow started falling like crazy, trapping us inside. No biggie, we thought. We're here to relax anyway. As we're rummaging around, killing time, someone notices a weird hatch in the ceiling. Curiosity kicks in, and we decide to check out the attic. Old stuff up there, dusty and forgotten. And then we find this box of photographs, like a time capsule from hell. The pictures were creepy as hell, man. All black and white, showing people in old-fashioned clothes, but there was something off. Like, they weren't happy poses, more like forced smiles and distant gazes. One by one, we flipped through the stack, and the unease settles in. The faces in those photographs were haunting. Some people looked scared, others like they were trying to escape the frame. But the worst part? The cabin. Recognized it from the pictures. The same walls we were standing in, but back then, it wasn't a weekend getaway, it was a nightmare. Turns out, years ago, messed up stuff happened here. Those photographs, they were like snapshots of the past, capturing the darkness that soaked into the cabin's timbers. The faces in the pictures, I can't shake them. It's like they're still here, in the shadows, watching. Nights became tense. Every creak, every sound outside, felt like a whisper from those old photographs. We're trying to brush it off, make light of the situation, but it's hard when the air feels heavy with the weight of the past. The storm outside howls like some angry spirit, and here we are, stuck with the ghosts in the attic. We try to push the unsettling vibes away, focus on games and laughter, but deep down, we're all feeling the cabin's history, seeping into our fun. We start seeing things, shadows moving where there shouldn't be any. Footsteps in the hall, but when we check, no one's there. The photographs, they're like a curse, bringing the cabin's twisted past into our present. It's like reliving someone else's nightmare. One night, we hear whispers in the attic. Can't make out the words, but it's there, this eerie murmur that chills us to the bone. We decide to pack up, get out of there, but the storm's still raging outside, trapping us with the darkness in those pictures. The tension escalates. Arguments, fear, paranoia. It's like the cabin is playing mind games with us. We find ourselves drawn back to the attic, compelled to stare at those haunting photographs, each face telling a silent tale of suffering. Days blur into a nightmarish loop. We're stuck in this cabin, surrounded by the ghosts of a past we didn't ask for. The storm outside, the creaking of the walls, the weight of those photographs, it's too much. We can't escape the darkness that hangs over this place. Eventually, the storm clears, and we bolt out of there, leaving the A-frame cabin and its disturbing history behind. But the faces in those photographs, the echoes of that haunted weekend, they stick with us. I'm looking through AirBnB and find a houseboat in Amsterdam. Seemed like a cool way to experience the city, Living on the water, taking it slow. Little did I know, this trip would turn into something straight out of a nightmare. The houseboat was charming, all wooden and cozy. Floating in the canals, I felt like a part of the city. During the day, I'd explore Amsterdam's winding streets, taking in the sights. But, man, the boat had a secret, and I stumbled onto it when I least expected. One day, just messing around, I noticed this odd-looking panel on the floor. Figured it was some maintenance thing, part of the boat life. But when I managed to pry it open, the atmosphere changed. Suddenly, I'm in this dark compartment, cramped and stuffy. Inside, I find a bag. And not just any bag, it's stuffed with cash. My heart starts racing. I'm not talking a couple of bills, I'm talking stacks. My first thought is, did I just stumble onto some illicit business? Panic sets in, and I'm torn between leaving it be or digging deeper. I decide to sift through the bag, and what do I find? Documents. Weird symbols, coded messages, stuff I can't make heads or tails of. But there's something off about it, something that makes my stomach churn. It's not just money laundering or some shady deal, it's deeper, darker. Days pass, and I can't shake the feeling that I've uncovered something big. Every time I leave the houseboat, I'm looking over my shoulder. Amsterdam's picturesque canals turn into ominous waterways, and I'm trapped in this real-life thriller, clueless about who's watching. Nights are the worst. I hear footsteps on the deck, but when I peek outside, there's no one. Shadows move across the water, and the boat rocks, but there's no explanation. Fear tightens its grip, and I start to question my decision to pry into that secret compartment. Then, it gets weirder. Random people start showing up, asking questions about the boat, acting like they own the place. I'm just a solo traveler, man. I don't want any trouble. But trouble finds me, and it's wearing a face that says, "You've seen something you shouldn't have." One evening, I return to the boat to find the secret compartment wide open. The money's gone, and in its place, a chilling message scrawled on the wall. "You talk, you vanish." Goosebumps crawl over my skin. Someone knows I found their dirty secret, and they're not playing games. Every creak of the boat becomes a threat. Every person passing by feels like a potential enemy. Amsterdam, once a vibrant city, turns into a maze of danger, and I'm the unwitting player in this twisted game. I start keeping out hours, avoiding eye contact, always looking over my shoulder. It's like the city's turned against me, and I'm left to navigate its canals of secrets, unsure who's a friend and who's part of the sinister plot I stumbled upon. One day, I decide it's enough. I can't live in fear, haunted by the boat and its dark secrets. I pack up, leave Amsterdam, but the paranoia lingers. There I was, tired of the city noise and craving some solitude. Decided to rent this mountain retreat in the Swiss Alps. Figured it'd be the perfect spot to get my writing groove on, you know? A cozy cabin, surrounded by nature. What could go wrong? First day, I'm exploring the place, and it's all quaint and serene. Wooden beams, a crackling fireplace, and this old rustic charm. I stumble upon a dusty shelf, and there they are, old journals. Must have belonged to the previous tenant or something. Curiosity gets the better of me, and I start flipping through the pages. Turns out, this cabin has a history. The journals unravel a love story, one that's both beautiful and haunting. Seems like a tragedy unfolded here, a tale of love lost in the midst of these majestic mountains. The more I read, the more I'm drawn into the lives of these people. Names like Anna and Johann echo through the pages, and their love seems so intense, so raw. The Alps, once my escape, now echo with the silent whispers of a love story cut short. As I delve deeper into the journals, the atmosphere in the cabin starts to change. It's like the very air carries the weight of their love and loss. At night, I hear faint whispers, soft footsteps, the kind of sounds that make your skin prickle with unease. The love story, it's not all rainbows and butterflies. There's tragedy, heartbreak, and a sense of unfinished business. Anna's words, so full of passion, seem to linger in the air, and Johann's absence becomes a palpable presence. One evening, as I'm reading, the fire in the fireplace flickers, casting dancing shadows on the walls. I hear a creaking sound, and for a moment, I swear I catch a glimpse of two shadowy figures in an embrace. The cabin feels alive with memories, and I'm caught in a love story that transcends time. As I continue to read, strange things start happening. Objects move on their own, and sometimes, I catch a fleeting reflection in the window, a silhouette that's not mine. Anxiety builds as I realize I'm not alone. Anna and Johann might be long gone, but their presence lingers, and it's getting stronger. Nights become restless. The walls seem to breathe with the weight of untold stories, and I hear whispers in the wind, echoing the tragic tale of love and loss. I start questioning my sanity, wondering if the thin line between fiction and reality has blurred. Then, one night, as I'm reading the final entries in the journals, the temperature in the room drops. I feel a chill, and the shadows coalesce into a spectral form. There they are, Anna and Johann, their love and pain etched in their translucent figures. Fear grips me as I witness their tragic love story unfold before my eyes. It's like I've become a character in their narrative, a silent observer to a love that defied time. The air is heavy with sorrow, and I'm paralyzed by the weight of their presence. I try to leave, but an invisible force keeps me tethered to the cabin. Anna and Johann, lost souls trapped in the echoes of their love, reach out to me. Their spectral hands brush against my skin, and I feel the agony of their separation. Desperation sets in as I grapple with the realization that I've become a part of their tragic tale. I'm entangled in a love story that refuses to fade away, bound to the very cabin that witnessed their joy and sorrow. The journals, once a source of curiosity, now feel like a curse, chaining me to a narrative that I never asked to be a part of. The final entry in the journal speaks of letting go, finding closure. But how can I let go when their spectral forms linger in every corner? The Swiss Alps, once a retreat, have transformed into a haunting landscape where the boundaries between the living and the dead blur. Days turn into a surreal existence, and I struggle to maintain a semblance of sanity. The love story that once captured my imagination now holds me captive. I'm no longer the writer seeking solitude. I'm a reluctant character in a tragedy that refuses to release its grip. As the days pass, I resign myself to this strange fate. Anna and Johann, their love story, and the cabin in the Swiss Alps were forever entwined in a narrative that defies the boundaries of time and reality. We rented this cozy cottage in Maine for our summer vacation. Looked like a dream, right by the coast, waves crashing, seagulls squawking. First day, everything's fine, kids playing in the sand, and we're all excited for a peaceful getaway. Then, in the attic, we find this old diary. No idea who it belonged to, but it dated back decades. Someone named Thomas wrote about this family secret, something dark that tied them to this cottage. The more I read, the more I realized this diary's got some messed up history. There's talk of a family curse, something about a deal gone wrong. Thomas sounds desperate, like he's writing to warn whoever finds this diary. First weird thing happens when we find old photos in the attic, faces from the diary, staring back at us. Thomas, his wife, and kids, they're all in the pictures, smiling like they didn't know the horror that awaited them. Night falls, and the atmosphere in the cottage changes. Weird noises, creaking floorboards, distant whispers. Kids say they hear someone calling their names, but we're alone. No one else around for miles. Then the weather turns nasty. Storm hits out of nowhere, and it's like the diary's curse has awakened. Lightning flashes, thunder roars, and I swear I see shadows moving in the dark corners of the rooms. Kids start acting strange, talking about a man in their dreams. Thomas, the guy from the diary. They claim he's warning them about the curse, telling them we should leave before it's too late. I try to brush it off, blame it on overactive imaginations, but the unease lingers. The storm rages on, and it feels like the walls are closing in. I read more of the diary, and it's a descent into madness. Thomas writes about whispers in the wind, shadows that come alive at night. One evening, as the sun sets, we find an old cellar door in the backyard. It's hidden, almost like it doesn't want to be found. We pry it open, and the stench of decay hits us. Dark, narrow steps leading into a pitch-black abyss. Curiosity gets the better of us, and we descend into that eerie cellar. Flashlights flicker, and the air gets colder. I feel eyes on us, like the past is watching, judging. In the cellar, we find old relics, dusty furniture, broken tools. It's like time stopped down here. Then, in the far corner, something catches our eye, a small, weathered box. Inside, there are old letters, yellowed with age. They're Thomas's final words, a plea for forgiveness. He writes about a deal with someone named Morgan, a deal that went sour. Now, the cottage is cursed, and whoever stays here is bound to the darkness. As we read, the shadows in the cellar seem to come alive. I hear whispers, soft at first, then growing into tortured screams. Kids are terrified, and so am I. We scramble up those cellar steps, slamming the door shut behind us. That night, we hear footsteps in the attic, a haunting melody carried by the wind. Kids won't sleep. They're scared that Thomas and his family are still here, trapped between worlds. Days pass, but the darkness doesn't lift. It clings to the cottage, seeping into our very souls. Kids keep talking about Thomas, saying he wants us out before it's too late. They claim to see his face in the windows, pleading. Desperation sets in as we pack up to leave. The air feels heavy, like a weight's been lifted off our shoulders. As we drive away, I glance back at the cottage, a quaint facade hiding a dark history. The diary, the cellar, Thomas's desperate words, it's a story that won't leave us. I can't shake the feeling that, in leaving, we've escaped the shadows but left a piece of ourselves behind. We thought it'd be a dreamy getaway, renting this floating house in the Florida Keys. It sat on the water, isolated from the hustle and bustle. Picture-perfect sunsets and gentle waves lulling us to sleep, that's what we expected. First day's fine, soaking in the sun, taking pictures. We noticed this island in the distance, not too far. Seemed uninhabited, just mangroves and shadows. But as the sun dipped low, we saw something that shouldn't be there, a silhouette on the island. At first, we dismissed it as a trick of the light. But it moved, slow and deliberate. My partner grabbed the binoculars, squinting towards the mysterious figure. Too far to make out details, just a dark shape against the fading sunlight. Night falls, and we hear a distant hum, a boat approaching. We peek out, see a small dinghy approaching the island. The silhouette's there, pacing the shoreline. No lights, just darkness against the moonlit water. Next day, we kayak over to the island. Maybe it's a lost soul or someone needing help. As we paddle closer, the figure retreats into the trees. There's a small structure there, weathered and forgotten. No sign of life, just an unsettling stillness. We explore the island cautiously, feeling eyes on us. Footprints in the sand, leading towards the interior. We follow, drawn by a sense of unease. The structure's an old shack, remnants of a life left behind. Creaky floorboards, rusty tools, it's like stumbling into a memory frozen in time. Hours pass, and the sun starts its descent. We leave the island, uneasy but convinced it's just an abandoned outpost. That night, we see a faint light on the island, dancing between the trees. A lantern, maybe? We debate whether to investigate but decide against it. The unknown feels dangerous. The next morning, we find something washed up on our floating house's deck, a torn piece of fabric, wet and stained. It's not ours. Panic sets in, and we question whether we're alone out here. We call the rental agency, but they dismiss it as debris. Days go by, and the island becomes a looming presence. That figure's always there, watching. We try to enjoy the sunsets, but that mysterious lantern dances in the distance, a macabre ballet. One night, we hear a splash. Rushing outside, we see ripples in the water. Someone was here, just moments ago. Panic takes over. We lock all the doors. The island seems closer in the darkness, like it's encroaching on our sanctuary. Sleep's elusive as the distant hum returns, circling our floating refuge. We huddle together, trying to rationalize. Maybe it's just a fisherman or lost traveler. But the fear's infectious, and every creak of the house becomes a harbinger of dread. One morning, we decide to confront the island. It's consuming our thoughts, invading our peace. As we approach, the shack's door swings open, a slow creak in the silence. The lantern sits on the porch, still warm to the touch. Inside, we find a journal, entries about solitude, loss, and a creeping darkness. It's the diary of someone driven to the edge by isolation. The last entry speaks of the island being a sanctuary, a place to escape a world that had forgotten. Reality sets in, we're not alone. Someone's been living in the shadows, sharing our sunsets and watching our every move. Fear turns to anger. We call the authorities, but they're hours away. We're on our own. Night falls, and the hum of a boat grows louder. The figure, now visible, approaches our floating house. We lock everything, praying they'll pass. But they don't. Shadows dance outside our windows, and a voice echoes, words lost in the wind. Suddenly, it stops. Silence. We peek outside, see the figure disappearing into the night. Relief washes over, but it's short-lived. The hum returns, louder than before. They're not leaving. They're circling, waiting for the right moment. As dawn breaks, we see the dinghy tied to our floating home. The figure's gone, leaving only traces of a terrifying presence. We pack frantically, leave behind the floating house that turned from dream to nightmare. Days later, safe on solid ground, we hear news of a hermit living in the Keys, someone who'd shunned society. They found the shack, the diary, the remnants of a life chosen in solitude. The figure was a lonely soul, seeking refuge in our proximity. The fear lingers, though. The feeling of being watched, of a presence just beyond the horizon. We were stoked about this chalet in the Swiss Alps, thinking it'd be a perfect winter getaway. Little did we know, it would turn into something we'd never forget. The place was cozy, snow-covered mountains surrounding us. The first few days were chill, snowboarding, and having a blast. Then, the storm hit, wind howling, snow slamming against the windows. Classic Alps weather, they said. Bored and snowed in, we started exploring the chalet. That's when we stumbled upon a door hidden behind a tapestry. Curiosity got the best of us, and we opened it, revealing a narrow staircase leading to a dimly lit room. Inside, it was freezing. The air felt heavy. There were shelves lined with artifacts, each weirder than the next. Old masks, creepy dolls, and rusty tools. It was like stepping into someone's nightmare. We found a journal, its pages brittle with age. It belonged to the chalet's previous owner, a recluse with a twisted obsession for collecting oddities. The stories attached to each item sent shivers down our spines. One mask, supposedly worn by a cursed performer who met a gruesome end. A doll, said to be possessed by a vengeful spirit seeking revenge for an ancient betrayal. The tools, instruments of some mad scientist's experiments. As we read, the storm outside intensified. Wind howling through the mountains sounded like distant screams. We felt trapped in that cold, eerie room, surrounded by the relics of someone else's nightmares. Hours passed, and we debated whether to share our findings. Fear and curiosity battled within us. The storm seemed to echo the chaos in those stories. We convinced ourselves it was just a twisted joke, the remnants of a disturbed mind. Then, the lights flickered. The room got colder. Shadows danced on the walls, taking on eerie shapes. The artifacts seemed to whisper stories of pain and suffering. It was as if the chalet itself was alive, revealing its sinister past. We tried to leave, but the door wouldn't budge. Panic set in. Was this some sick joke orchestrated by the previous owner? Was the storm outside conspiring with the dark secrets of the chalet? As the temperature dropped, our breaths became visible. The artifacts seemed to come alive, their haunting tales now echoing in our minds. We huddled together, our fear palpable in the freezing air. Then, footsteps, faint but unmistakable. Someone or something was moving in the shadows. The room felt claustrophobic, closing in on us as the storm raged outside, mirroring the chaos within. The artifacts seemed to mock us, their chilling stories blending with the howling wind. We shouted, banged on the door, desperate for an escape. But the room held us captive, a sinister force refusing to let go. Suddenly, the door creaked open. The storm outside quieted, and the artifacts fell silent. We stumbled into the dimly lit chalet, the weight of the hidden room lingering in our minds. Days later, we left the Alps behind, haunted by the memories of that stormy night. So, I'm in Miami for this business thing. Got a swanky condo by the coast, and it's all high-tech, like something out of a sci-fi movie. Sleek panels control everything, lights, blinds, even the dang coffee maker. I'm loving it until I start noticing some weird stuff. One night, I'm working late, staring out at the ocean. That's when I notice the cameras, tiny things, almost invisible. At first, I think it's normal for security. But then, I start spotting them everywhere, in the living room, the bedroom, even the bathroom. Feeling like I'm in some paranoid thriller, I check the building's security system. Turns out, it's linked to a network of hidden cameras, not just in my condo, but all over the building. I'm being watched, and I've got no clue who's behind it. Naturally, I start getting paranoid. Is it the feds? Some corporate espionage? Or maybe the building management, keeping tabs on the high-profile guests? My mind is spinning with possibilities, none of them good. So, I decide to play detective. I check the building schematics, figure out where those cameras might be. Late at night, I start poking around, searching for hidden lenses. I feel like James Bond, minus the cool gadgets. Then, I find it, a tiny camera, barely noticeable in the air vent. That's when I realize this goes deeper. Someone's been watching my every move, and it ain't for security. I start wondering who else knows about this. Are they watching me right now? It's a chilling thought, like being in a reality show without your consent. The next day, I confront the building management. They act all surprised, like they had no clue. I call them out, show them the camera, demand answers. They promise to investigate, but I'm not buying it. Nights become unbearable. Every shadow, every flicker of light feels like a setup. I start questioning my every action. What if they're recording me right now? What if they know everything? The paranoia seeps into my work. I can't focus, can't think straight. Every email, every call, I wonder if someone's listening in. It's a nightmare, and I can't escape it. Days turn into weeks, and the investigation, if there even is one, goes nowhere. I consider leaving, finding a new place, but who's to say it won't happen again? Trust is shattered. One night, unable to take it anymore, I rip the cameras out. I smash them, stomp on them like a madman. It's a futile attempt to regain control, to show whoever's watching that I won't be a pawn in their sick game. But deep down, I know it's not over. The feeling of being watched lingers, an unsettling presence in my own sanctuary. Miami, once a city of dreams, becomes a maze of uncertainty and paranoia. I never find out who was behind it. Maybe it's better that way. The unknown is terrifying, but sometimes knowing the truth is even scarier. So, me and my partner decide to escape to Arizona, looking for some desert vibes. Found this cozy little Airbnb that claims to be an oasis in the middle of nowhere. Seemed perfect for a quiet getaway. We get there, and the heat is hitting us like a brick wall. But the place is kind of magical. Palm trees, a swimming pool, and a little patio that screams relaxation. We're thinking, this is gonna be great. One day, we decide to explore the surroundings. We're out in the blistering sun, feeling the heat waves dancing on the horizon. That's when we spotted an old settlement half buried in the sand. Looks like something out of those Wild West movies. Curiosity gets the best of us, and we wander over. The buildings are all dilapidated, windows shattered, doors hanging on rusty hinges. It's eerie, like a ghost town swallowed by the desert. We start poking around, checking out the remnants of what used to be. Dusty furniture, faded photographs, a broken rocking chair squeaking in the wind. It's like the place is frozen in time. Then, we find this old well. It's covered in grime, but there's something about it that draws us in. We peer down, and it's so dark, you can't see the bottom. Feels like staring into the abyss. As we're about to move on, we notice markings on the well, weird symbols, almost like a language we can't decipher. It's unsettling, like stumbling upon a secret code. I get this chill down my spine, but we shake it off, telling ourselves it's just some old graffiti. That night, we're back at the Airbnb, chilling by the pool. But something's off. The wind whispers through the palms like a ghostly echo. I catch my partner glancing over their shoulder, like they're expecting someone to be watching. Next day, we decide to ask the locals about that abandoned settlement. Turns out, nobody talks about it. It's like a forbidden secret, and the few who do know say it's cursed. A place where bad things happened, where people vanished into thin air. Suddenly, the idyllic desert oasis feels like a trap. We're uneasy, questioning our decision to stay. I catch glimpses of shadows in the corners, hear whispers carried by the wind. It's like the desert is alive with secrets, and we're stuck in the middle of it. We start noticing odd things at the Airbnb, like the pool water turning murky for no reason, strange noises echoing through the night. It's like the desert settlement cast a shadow over our little paradise. One evening, as the sun sets, we see figures in the distance, silhouettes against the orange sky. They're moving towards us, slow and deliberate. Panic sets in, and we lock ourselves inside, peeking through the curtains. The figures surround the Airbnb, and we catch glimpses of their faces, weathered, like they've been in the desert for centuries. They start chanting in that strange language from the well, a haunting melody that sends shivers down our spines. We're trapped, surrounded by a forgotten history that refuses to stay buried. The Airbnb, once an oasis, becomes a prison, and the figures outside, the keepers of a dark secret. We huddle together, hoping morning will break this spell. But when the sun rises, the figures are gone, leaving only footprints in the sand. We pack our bags, leaving the desert oasis behind. So, I'm a journalist, right? Figured I needed a break from the city noise, so I rent this houseboat on the Mississippi River. Seems peaceful, you know? A writing retreat away from the hustle. First night, everything's chill. The river's got this low hum, like a lullaby. But then, I find this old dusty box shoved in a corner. Open it up, and there are these cassette tapes. Yeah, ancient stuff. I don't even know if I have a player. Next day, I hit the town, find some pawn shops selling a beat-up cassette player. Back on the boat, I pop one of those tapes in, and it starts playing this scratchy recording. Voices murmuring, water lapping against the boat. I'm thinking it's some mundane stuff, maybe someone's fishing tale. But then, this guy on the tape starts talking about a night on the river. He's tense, voice shaky, describing how they saw something in the water, something that made their skin crawl. It's vague, but you can feel the fear in his words. I shrug it off, thinking it's just some local spinning ghost stories. Night falls, and I'm back at the tapes. Another one, another story. This time, it's about a disappearance. A friend gone without a trace. The guy's voice gets more desperate, like he's reliving the terror. Now, I'm hooked. Every night, I'm listening to these tapes, piecing together this river mystery. It's like the Mississippi has its own secrets, and these recordings are the only breadcrumbs. I start wandering the riverbanks during the day, talking to folks. They look at me weird when I mention the tapes, but no one wants to spill. It's like they're guarding some dark river secret. One night, the tapes take a sinister turn. A voice, cold and calculating, describing a figure in the water. Something about it isn't right. I get this chill, like I've stumbled upon a truth that should have stayed buried. The more I dig, the more I find. Missing people, unexplained events. The river's got its own code, and I'm trying to crack it. But the more I learn, the more I feel like I'm being watched. Late one night, I'm out on the houseboat, staring into the dark water. That's when I see it, a shadow, moving just beneath the surface. Panic hits, and I grab a flashlight, shining it into the river. Nothing. But the feeling of being watched lingers. I turn back to the tapes, and the recordings become more personal. The voice addresses me directly, taunting, threatening. It's like the river itself is warning me to back off. I'm losing sleep, haunted by the stories on those tapes. They're not just recordings, they're a portal into something I shouldn't have unearthed. The river, once a source of calm, now feels like a sinister force. One night, as I'm deep into the tapes, the boat starts rocking. Not the gentle sway of the river, but violent rocking. I rush outside, and there's this figure in the water, a silhouette against the moonlight. It's staring at me, and I swear I can see its eyes, cold and unrelenting. Fear grips me, and I retreat into the boat, heart pounding. The tapes are gone, replaced by an unsettling silence. The river, once a place of solace, becomes a realm of unseen threats. I decide to bail. Pack my stuff, leave the houseboat. The townsfolk, they're watching me as I go, eyes filled with a mix of pity and warning. It's like they know the river's secrets but won't spill. As I drive away, I catch one last glimpse of the Mississippi. It's like it's whispering, inviting me back into its mysteries. But I keep going, leaving the dark waters and the chilling tapes behind. The river might have its secrets, but I'm not sticking around to uncover them. I escape the quiet town, haunted by the mysteries that lurk beneath the Mississippi's surface. Me and the gang decide to rent this chalet in the French Alps for some epic skiing. Place is in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by snow-capped peaks. Real isolated, you know? We're stoked, planning our routes, waxing our skis. Everything's cool until we start nosing around the chalet. It's all wood and cozy, but there's this weird vibe. Like someone lived here before us. We find this trapdoor in the corner. No clue it's there until one of the guys accidentally steps on it. It creaks open, revealing a staircase leading down. Dark as hell, but curiosity gets the best of us. Flashlights in hand, we descend. Basement's freezing, and there's this metallic tang in the air. We hit the jackpot, a hidden chamber, walls lined with old newspaper clippings and photos. It's like stepping into the past. Turns out, years ago, there was this massive avalanche. Whole village got buried, and the chalet was abandoned. We're sifting through these relics, piecing together this tragic story. It's eerie, man. Pictures of families, homes destroyed, real tearjerker stuff. Then, we find a journal. Dude who lived here before us documented everything. The chaos, the fear, losing loved ones. It's like he's talking to us from the past. As we're reading, we hear this distant rumbling. Freaked out, we rush back upstairs, thinking the avalanche is happening again. But outside, it's dead quiet. No snow coming down, just this eerie stillness. Back to the journal. Turns out, the guy survived the avalanche but went mad from the isolation. His words are all over the place, like he's wrestling with demons. The last entries get darker, hinting at something watching him. We're spooked, but decide it's just some poor guy losing it. So, we gear up for our skiing adventure. Snow's fresh, perfect conditions. We hit the slopes, adrenaline pumping. Halfway down, I notice this figure on the ridge. Can't make out details, just a silhouette. I brush it off, but it keeps showing up. At the edge of the trees, on a distant peak. Always watching. We get back to the chalet, and that basement feels different, colder. Journal's gone, no trace of the tragic tale we uncovered. We're unnerved, questioning if we imagined it all. Night falls, and we're sitting by the fire, trying to shake off the weird vibes. That's when the whispers start. Soft, distant voices, like ghosts carried by the wind. It's messing with our heads. We decide to sleep it off, but I keep hearing those voices in my dreams. Can't make out what they're saying, just this haunting murmur. Wake up drenched in sweat, heart pounding. Next day, we're packing up, eager to leave. The chalet feels oppressive, like it doesn't want us there. As we're loading the car, I glance back. On the ridge, that figure is there again, watching. We peel out of there, leaving the French Alps behind. There I am, in the Mongolian steppe, staying in this traditional yurt. Figured it'd be an authentic adventure, you know? The vast wilderness stretches out, endless, under the big sky. One day, I spot a nomadic family in the distance. Thought it'd be cool to connect, share stories. As I approach, they welcome me warmly. Friendly folks, at least that's what I thought. We're sitting, chatting, when the conversation takes a weird turn. They start hinting at something darker, something they're hiding. But my Mongolian isn't top-notch, so it's lost in translation. Night falls, and they invite me to join them for dinner. Seemed harmless, right? As we gather around this fire pit, I notice their eyes, something unsettling in their gaze. It's like they're sizing me up. They serve this meat dish, and there's this strange taste. Couldn't quite place it, but it's off. They're watching me eat, grinning. I'm not one to offend, so I force it down, pretending it's fine. Later, I'm feeling weird, lightheaded. I chalk it up to the travel and the unfamiliar food. As the night goes on, they start acting strange. whispering in their language, glancing my way. I'm getting uneasy vibes. The fire flickers, casting eerie shadows on their faces. That's when I notice their clothes, stained. Like dark, dried patches. My mind's racing, wondering if it's what I think it is. I try to excuse myself, saying I need some fresh air. Outside, I'm surrounded by the vast steppe, but I can't shake this ominous feeling. It's quiet, too quiet. That's when I stumble upon their herd. Sheep, goats, the whole deal. But something's not right. One of the sheep has this glazed over look, and the goats, are they fewer than before? I feel this sinking feeling. Those glances, the weird meat, the stained clothes. It clicks. Panic sets in. This family, they're not just nomads. There's something else. Something darker. I start putting the pieces together. The meat, the strange glances, they're not just herding animals. They're hunting, and I might be on the menu. My heart's pounding, and I realize I need to get out of there, fast. As I sneak back to my yurt, I hear them talking louder, almost arguing. My mind's racing. Are they onto me? I grab my stuff, trying not to make a sound. Every rustle feels deafening. Out there in the steppe, it's pitch black. I can't see a thing, but I can hear them, voices growing louder. They're coming after me. I break into a run, adrenaline pumping. The yurt, the fire, the strange meat, it all feels like some nightmare. I stumble through the darkness, no idea where I'm going. Fear grips me, and I keep running until exhaustion sets in. Finally, I collapse, catching my breath. As dawn breaks, I realize I'm far from that yurt, far from that family. But the horror lingers. What did I stumble upon in the Mongolian steppe? A nomadic family with a dark secret, hidden behind the fastness of the wilderness. I'll never forget those haunting glances and the taste of that unsettling meat. The whole family in this charming lighthouse we rented on Cape Cod. Figured it'd be a quirky getaway. The salt air hits you as soon as you step out, seagulls squawking overhead. We decide to explore the lighthouse, climb the tower and take in the view. It's all pretty standard until we find this door, tucked away in a corner. Looks like it's been forgotten for years. Curiosity gets the better of us, and we manage to creak it open. Dust and musty air hit us. Inside, it's dimly lit, and we see stacks of old ship logs just lying there. We figure it's part of the lighthouse's history, some forgotten paperwork. As we start flipping through these logs, though, it's like we've stumbled onto something darker. Tales of maritime disasters, written in this cramped, frantic handwriting. The dates go way back, and the stories are unsettling. One log tells of a shipwreck just off the coast. The crew's desperation vividly described. Another log mentions a mysterious disappearance during a storm, like the sea just swallowed them whole. It's chilling to read. We're all huddled around, piecing together this eerie history. The lighthouse wasn't just a beacon, it witnessed tragedies, kept records of lives lost at sea. There's this sinking feeling, like the air in that hidden room is getting heavier. As we delve deeper, we realize some patterns. Certain dates pop up more frequently, like the sea had a taste for tragedy on those days. The atmosphere in that room turns somber. The more we read, the more it feels like the lighthouse itself is holding these secrets, like it absorbed the pain and echoes it through time. We can almost hear the distant cries of sailors and the crashing waves in those words. The sun outside is starting to set, casting long shadows in the hidden room. The logs become almost poetic, describing the sea as both savior and executioner. It's like we stepped into a maritime nightmare. But then, as we reach the last log, the entries abruptly stop. The ink fades into nothingness, leaving an unsettling blank page. It's like the lighthouse refuses to reveal what happened next. As we leave that hidden room, the tower feels different. The charm of the lighthouse is overshadowed by the weight of those old logs. We can't shake the feeling that we've awakened something, like the sea's ancient grief is now a part of our experience. That night, the sound of the waves crashing against the shore is haunting. Each gust of wind carries echoes of those maritime disasters. Sleep doesn't come easy. The lighthouse seems to speak in whispers, a maritime history etched in shadows. We spend the rest of our stay on Cape Cod, unable to shake the feeling of being watched by the lighthouse, as if it's silently sharing its stories. When we finally pack up and leave, the tower stands tall, its light casting an eerie glow over the coastline. Me and my partner decided to get away, escape to this tranquil bungalow in Bali. Figured we could use a break from the daily grind. The online pictures made it look like paradise, lush greenery, serene vibes. First day, we're exploring the surroundings. Everything's cool, coconut trees, the scent of frangipani in the air. We stumble upon this narrow path, kind of hidden behind some foliage. It leads us to this little clearing where we find this ancient-looking shrine. At first, it seems harmless, old stones and incense lingering. But as we get closer, we notice these strange artifacts scattered around. Creepy masks, worn-out figurines, and weathered offerings. Not exactly the Balinese serenity we signed up for. I'm not one to get spooked easily, but there's something off about this shrine. The air feels different, like it's holding on to stories nobody wants to tell. My partner tries to dismiss it, says it's probably just some local tradition. As we examine the artifacts, though, it's like we've entered a hidden chapter of Bali's history. There's this one mask, ancient and worn, with these eyes that seem to follow you. My partner says it's just superstition, but I can't shake the feeling we've stumbled upon something more. The sun starts to set, casting long shadows over the shrine. The flickering candles, the distant sounds of the jungle, it's like we've intruded on something sacred, something that doesn't want us there. Night falls, and we decide to head back to the bungalow. But there's this unease, a whisper of something we can't quite grasp. We can hear the distant chants from the local ceremonies, but it doesn't comfort us like it did before. That night, we're lying in bed, and I swear the sounds of the jungle outside are different. The rustling leaves and the distant howls of animals feel like a backdrop to something darker, something that's silently watching. We decide to check out the shrine again the next day, maybe get some answers from the locals. But when we return, it's like the artifacts have multiplied, or maybe we just didn't notice them all. There's this ominous energy, a weight in the air that wasn't there before. As we approach the shrine, the temperature drops. It's Bali, for crying out loud, it's not supposed to get cold. My partner's uneasy too, looking over their shoulder like we're being followed. We spot a local passing by, an old woman with a weathered face. She glances at us, eyes wide, and mutters something in Balinese. We try to ask her about the shrine, but she hurriedly walks away, as if we've unearthed something best left buried. Now, we're questioning this peaceful bungalow retreat. The lush paradise feels like it's closing in, like the jungle itself is hiding secrets. We can't shake the feeling that we've stumbled onto a part of Bali they don't put in travel brochures. That night, the jungle symphony takes on a different tone. Every creak of the trees, every distant echo feels like a message, a warning even. We're lying in bed, eyes wide open, listening to the mysterious sounds beyond our bungalow. The next day, we decide to leave, car stays short. As we pass by the shrine one last time, it's like the artifacts are whispering, telling us to go. We head back to the airport, leaving the hidden shrine behind, but its unsettling aura lingers. The bungalow in Bali, once a serene escape, becomes a memory tainted by the mystery of that hidden shrine. The artifacts, the cold air, the unspoken stories, they're etched into our experience. We return home, but the unsettling feeling of Bali's hidden secret stays with us, a reminder that paradise might have shadows lurking just beneath the surface.